What's going on, Laker fans? D-Mac here. We're back with another episode of the Lakers 24-8 Roundtable, and we can officially talk Lakers playoff basketball. The Lake Show beating the T-Wolves last night in the playoff game in overtime. Gentlemen, what was your thoughts? What was your reaction? We got Noah Cameras. Noah, just what was top of the dome? What was your reaction? I mean, what was it like watching that game? Were you afraid? Were you nervous?
That was a crazy game. I mean, I don't think anyone expected no one to score for just minutes at a time. No. It kind of felt like you were watching college basketball, March Madness. All the kids are nervous. Like, no one can get a bucket. The turnovers are flying. But it was a really fun game. I think it was a great kind of entry into this postseason basketball. The Lakers haven't played postseason basketball in 2 years. And I put on my Twitter, it's been over 3,000 days since there was a home, full crowd Laker postseason basketball game. So really fun atmosphere. It was loud there. And yeah, a really fun way to get into this postseason. The Lakers clinched the 7th seed. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, they clinched that 7th seed. They lock in a first-round matchup with the Memphis Grizzlies. We're going to talk about that a little bit at the end. But, Noel, I know you're a guy who lives and dies for your purple and gold. Yes, what was your shake meter at on a scale of 1 to 10? How much were you shaking in overtime?
Zero.
Whoa.
Never had a doubt. I knew they were going to pull it off, man. I'm telling you, they did not want to go in another playing game and go up against the Pelicans, who they have a lot of history with, and angry Brandon Ingram. You know, those guys, you never know what could happen in a playing game. And you guys could even see Anthony Edwards didn't have the best game, and somehow we still went to overtime, and we almost went to a double overtime. So they didn't want to have that happen again. And, you know, like LeBron said, AD did have a brain fart, and Dennis Schroeder came up clutch, but that wasn't the story because we did have to go another quarter. But Minnesota was going to have dead legs. I already knew it, and the Lakers have all the experience. The Timberwolves, you know, they haven't had a whole lot of success in a while, so my shake meter was at this nice donut right here.
Was that a donut? Okay, I don't know if I believe you fully.
I don't know.
You were sweating bullets for a second there.
Maybe a little bit.
But let's start right there.
They were down like 15 at one point.
They're struggling, of course. And I got to give you credit, too, because you said Mike Conley, a Lakers killer. He was hot, 6 of 8 from 3 last night. He was fantastic. But we're going to start with Anthony Edwards, because that was the big key for us heading into this one. How do they neutralize Anthony Edwards? He scores 9 points on 3 of 17 shooting in 43 minutes. Vando helped lock him up. You mentioned Dennis Schroeder. Dennis Schroeder impacting the game on the defensive end against Anthony Edwards. What did you see on how the Lakers attacked him, were able to slow Ant down?
I mean, it was not what we expected. And what's crazy is we said on the show, if the Lakers slow down Anthony Edwards, this game's going to be a rout. And somehow, some way, it wasn't a rout, even though Anthony Edwards had probably one of, if not the worst game of his NBA career. Now, the Lakers obviously did a great job. They were pressing him. They were making his life difficult. But also, I do think there was a part of it where Anthony Edwards just got in his own head. And then once you start missing the shots, it just gets ugly. And he finally got that dunk, and it was the 4th or overtime, and I was like, oh, he's about to get going. And then he still missed a few more threes. So it was just one of those things where he got in his own head. The Lakers were totally pressuring him. Vando's Vala was there. Austin Reeves was around. Dennis Schroeder was around. And the Lakers are really good at kind of getting in the passing lanes. And you saw Schroeder get a few steals of just being in the right place and knowing exactly where that pass is going to go. So it's definitely a team effort to slow down Anthony Edwards. But the biggest concern for me was they slowed down Anthony Edwards and they still had to go to overtime because that was a little concerning for me, because that felt like him being as bad as he was, this should have just been a blowout.
Yeah, and that was really one of the big things, too, is not only how they were attacking Anthony Edwards, but if you look at all of his attempts, they were shots in pull-ups, shots off the dribble. I mean, he ends up scoring just 9 points, and all those were layups. I mean, all at the rim. 2 of them came in overtime, one on a fast break, and the other, they just conceded that layup on that 3-point attempt there. I mean, in the Memphis series, just looking ahead, who do they need to target like a Anthony Edwards? I mean, how can they have the same success against a Ja Morant and what they learned on how to defend Edwards?
I mean, definitely, I think it's just those guards obviously working as a collective effort. The scary thing about the Grizzlies is they have a lot more scoring options, a lot more shooting. It's not like the Timberwolves where, yes, they did have a lot of bench players, a lot of role players go off yesterday, and that's what kept them in the game. But I think the key with Ja is not letting him get to that floater that he loves, or getting to the paint and getting our bigs in foul trouble, because he can hang in the air, and, you know, AD and our other bigs will jump up with him, and they'll be coming down and just hack him. So I think the important thing is not letting him get going on that ends of the floor, and you got to keep an eye out for guys like Desmond Bane, and obviously not let Jaren Jackson Jr. get going, but John Morant is their guy, and it's gonna be a battle because the Grizzlies historically have done well without Ja Morant. Even when he's injured or when he's been gone with suspension, they're still able to hold down the fort. So yeah, you got to take the same approach in the fact that they have a slasher just like Anthony Edwards, but we just saw that AE had one of his worst games of his career, and they were still in the game. So it just game planning around Ja and game planning around those slashers and shutting down the superstars, and you give yourself a fighting chance. Even if the Lakers fall apart like they did yesterday, they still have a chance to get back in it.
Let me ask you guys something really quickly. You bring up getting into foul trouble and potentially Ja Morant. What do you guys think of Darvin Ham not playing Mo Bamba when Karl Anthony Towns is out there and the biggest guy out there is Rui Hachimura? I don't know if you're planning on talking about Darvin Ham at all, but his rotations were suspect at some points. I don't get how Karl Anthony Towns is out there and the 5 is Rui Hachimura when Mo Bamba's just sitting there. And you think in a playoff series, if AD gets in some foul trouble, is he really just going to go with Wenyen and Rui as his only bigs? I mean, what do you guys think of that?
Yeah, I mean, Anthony Cat definitely came out there and he had an impact early on. But after he was hot, I mean, he scored his 24th point with 2:39 left in the third quarter. Down the stretch after that, he didn't score again and only attempted 2 shots for the remainder of the game. So they were trying to mix up coverages, trying to confuse him. And I think, too, they just realized that when you bring out the size, when you bring out the length and some inexperienced players that weren't always a part of this rotation, you throw them into the fire in a playing game, maybe you don't have the best cohesion and chemistry out there and you just kind of want to go with guys. But yeah, I think some of his rotations were definitely a little suspect. The fact that you go with D'Angelo Russell, we're going to shift gears and talk to in a second here how he used him, but also Austin Reeves. I think one of my big takeaways with not using Austin Reeves the way we've seen throughout this nice stretch after the All-Star break where he became him, right? He really just won the hearts of Laker fans. Well, you know what he learned last night? A valuable lesson is that playoff officiating is very different.
He's not getting those calls.
Was not getting those whistles down the stretch. And yeah, we need to see a little more from Austin Reeves, but that's why I think it was a good game for him to go out there and kind of struggle when he did. But yeah, I mean, he just didn't know what to do with himself when he got those. But as far as the defensive schemes, I mean, the reality is this team, one of my big takeaways is this team is capable of playing championship level defense. And yes, you got some natural regression because they were hotter than the Devils' armpit early in that game, and the numbers definitely bear that out. But over the last 17 minutes, they forced 11 turnovers and they made 5 shots in the game's final 17 minutes. They were putting the clamps on. What did you see from them defensively?
Obviously, just that amped up effort down the stretch when it was runs going back and forth. Obviously, it's basketball, it's playoff basketball. Whoever gets the most runs and the biggest runs and gets their crowd engaged is going to win the game. But yeah, just locking down that defensive end, collapsing in on Cat when he had that hot start. Yeah, look, we were saying he was looking like Jokic out there. He was throwing over the head passes. He was shooting off of one leg and he was looking really good. But you just got to tire out the players in the playoffs. You know, it's going to be constant back-to-back games. You're going to be traveling. You're going to be going up against the same guys every single day. And just seeing how he was in the fourth quarter, he had multiple possessions where it was like even Austin Reeves on him, and he just kind of didn't want the ball in the post. Anthony Edwards was frustrated, tired. He was off at the end of the game too. So, yeah, I just think it's using your guys to the best of their abilities. And like you're talking about having Rui Hachimura at the 5, it was definitely questionable seeing as Cat was down there, but I think Ham was looking at more. He wanted to have his fastest guys out there to be able to switch and be able to just run. I feel like that's the pace they were trying to play at yesterday, especially when they were trying to get those runs going. And yeah, I want to see Vando locked in like he was yesterday, man. I saw a bunch of forced turnovers from him, and he was looking great. And I see the communication him and D'Lo and Reeves are all having on that end of the floor, and it's bigger than offense when it comes to the playoffs. And I think the Lakers know that very well, seeing that they've been the best defensive team in the league since the trade deadline.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you bring up a good point with Rui. They were trying to create some more lanes, just kind of stretch guys out. And I think, too, they want to see Rui have an impact in this playoff run. So getting off to a good start was definitely important. But I want to ask you, Noah, because if you look early in that game, there was nervous time at Crypto.com Arena. I mean, they started 9 for 17 from beyond the arc in the first half. They hit 4 of their first 7 in the third quarter, and they were 13 for 24 from 3 at that point. So it was 76-61 with 5:59 left in the third. What do you think was the biggest reason for the turnaround for the Lakers?
I mean, I don't want to give I don't want to take credit away from the Lakers because I think their defense the effort really amped up. But one thing I do want to mention is Karl Anthony Towns got into foul trouble. And
that was big.
When he got that 5th foul, I think the Wolves were up 11 or 12.
Everything changed.
He comes out and the Lakers cut it to 3. So that was a big deal. And then he comes back in at the 7-minute mark because they need him to. And like you said, he only had 2 shots in the fourth. I think a big part of that is he didn't want to pick up that foul on the offensive side of the ball. So he wasn't going to go bully someone in the paint, try to get an offensive rebound over someone. Because if he gets that 6th foul, they're not going to overtime. So I do think Cat kind of, had to get out of that game a little bit, knowing he was playing with 5 fouls. But also you got to give credit to the Lakers for putting him in that foul trouble, attacking him. So I do think that, what Noel said, effort is what effort is what translates to good defense.
Yep.
In the NBA, you see the guys who put in the most effort are the guys who end up being the best defenders. They put in the effort in the fourth quarter. They were clogging passing lanes. They were making everyone's life difficult. They were tormenting Ant. And with that being said, Karl-Anthony Towns' 5 fouls really just put him in a difficult position because he could not be the dominant Cat that the Timberwolves needed. And at the end of the day, without Cat and with Anthony Edwards struggling, the Timberwolves weren't going to win.
Yeah, no, you bring up a great point. It was really a perfect storm in that Karl-Anthony Towns gets into foul trouble. You start to see some regression to the mean. Guys like Mike Conley, could you really sustain what he was doing? Taurean Prince, they were getting key contributions from guys that typically don't have those types of games. But still, when you finish the game, from 5:59 until the end of overtime, they go 3 for 17 and 3 for 15 from the field in the fourth quarter, 2 and 8 in overtime. They had 9 turnovers in that stretch. I think it was a combination of the offense started to slow down. The Lakers picked up their defense, and one of the big reasons why was Mr. Dennis Schroeder. Dennis was a menace defensively. Schroeder, we of course were talking about the shot he made at the end, but what did you see from Schroeder last night? That ankle, what is he even made of? Titanium? What is up with that?
He went to the LeBron James of ankle doctor.
Nah, he went to that German doctor.
He went to that German one.
He took a little quick plane trip over there when he went, and then he was good. But obviously, just seeing what Dennis brings, it's what he's always bring in his NBA career. Whether he was a 6th man, whether he was a starter, and we were talking about if he had played like this, then he would have got that $84 million contract.
Yep.
I love the role that he's bought into. I think he saw kind of how life was when the fans and the NBA world kind of looked down on you. He had a pretty rough stint with the Celtics. Then he was with the Houston Rockets, which is where veterans kind of go to fizzle out at this point.
Good point.
Then he had a revival in the Eurobasket, and the Lakers wanted to bring him back, and he sees this opportunity that he has this year, and it's great to see him being bought in on both sides of the floor and bringing that clutch offense, and also just that hustle. I feel like every time there's a loose ball, he's the one diving for it.
100%.
Yeah, he's a menace. Like I said, I love his energy. I love his little man energy. I feel like that's the best way to put it.
No, and also too, you don't know when his name's going to be called or when they're going to need him to step up, and he absolutely did that. 21 points on 5 of 12 shooting. He led all Lakers with a plus 22 box plus minus, but also a plus 24 in the final 2 quarters and in the overtime session. Now, should have had that game winner at the end, like you said. It was a brain fart by Anthony Davis. But I think when it comes to Dennis Schroeder, the big question now is, what is his role moving forward? Because I think he's going to figure to have a prominent role in this Memphis series. We're going to talk about D'Angelo Russell in just a second. But what do you see for Dennis Schroeder moving forward as far as his role?
Well, I'll try my best to not jump ahead to your next topic, but I do think D'Angelo Russell's play is going to determine Dennis Schroeder's role, because the only reason Dennis is out there, not only reason, Dennis played to be out there, but D'Lo would have come back in had he not been struggling. So if D'Lo continues to struggle, Dennis Schroeder is going to end up playing 30 minutes in a game because D'Lo's not going to be the guy to be relied upon. But if D'Lo's having a hot game, there's less room for Schroeder, considering Schroeder's pretty small and him and D'Lo are both, it's not like D'Lo's a great defender either, and you want to have Austin Reeves out there too. But I do think Dennis Schroeder's for sure earning himself more minutes. He's going to be handling the ball a lot more, I think, because you saw when he was handling the ball and kind of running the offense, it worked. He was knocking down his shots. He was finding open guys. But it does kind of, in my opinion, depend on D'Lo, because if D'Lo is playing well, he's going to be out there at the end of the game. It's not like Schroeder's going to get those closing minutes. But when D'Lo is struggling and Schroeder is playing well, Schroeder's earning those end-of-game minutes.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on Schroeder as far as offensively?
Cold, just clutch. Super big for us down the stretch, and we're gonna talk about D'Lo in a second, but Schroeder's making the case to get some more minutes, have a bigger role in this playoff run. He's obviously he's experienced a lot during his time with the NBA. He's played a lot of different roles, and I just feel like right now it's not a good look on D'Lo if Dennis Schroeder is hitting the biggest shot of the game in what should have been D'Lo's minutes. So.
And let's just say shout out LeBron on that pass. LeBron's entire career, he's been taking that step back 3 in that moment, taking a fadeaway jumper, and instead he gets to the hoop and he finds a wide open Dennis Schroeder. I did not see that coming.
And everybody hates on LeBron for always passing up to his shooters in that moment, but if you have that vision and you trust your teammates, Come on,
Yeah,
it's the right play.
Yeah, it goes to show. I mean, you saw a few years ago, he makes that pass to Kyle Korver in the finals.
Everybody
he
hates on
bricks
him
it. Everyone
after
says,
that.
"Oh, why isn't he Kobe?
why-
Why isn't he
Yep.
LeBron?" Look, sometimes you got to make the right play.
It was 5 guys on LeBron. I mean, there were 10 eyes.
Yeah.
Every single Grizzlies player was watching LeBron, trying to swarm him, and he makes a perfect pass to a wide open shoulder. I don't know if that was Darvin Ham's play call. If it was, give some credit to Darvin Ham. But I think that was all LeBron.
Yeah.
Dennis Schroeder was in the right spot, and LeBron made the play. That's his second. The 2 clutchest plays of LeBron's Lakers career are in playing games.
Yeah.
The shot against the Warriors and that pass
Yeah.
is up there with that shot just because of the play. I mean, that's all LeBron. That's all LeBron.
And he knows it's going to be there. He knows defenses are going to collapse on him when he freight trains down the lane. And yes, Schroeder's shrewd. He made the big shot yesterday, and you got to give him a lot of credit. But we have to talk about D'Angelo Russell because he was cheeks yesterday. I mean, he goes 1 for 9, 1 turnover, 2 points, did have 8 assists in 24 minutes, did have just a -2 box plus
only
minus.
1 turnover.
Only 1 turnover. He was pushing the ball on the break. He was feeding the hot hand along the way. But what did you take away from D'Angelo Russell last night?
I mean, we talked about it before. It's, the playoff D-Lo. He got benched last year in the Timberwolves playing game, so very similar. Once I saw that first shot, he bricks that wing 3.
That was a horrible shot.
I was like,
How'd
we're
you
in
miss
for
like that? It goes off, bounces.
we're in for a bad one. And unfortunately, he just could not get a shot going. Fortunately, like you said, he was impacting the game in other aspects. I mean, he ended up being a great facilitator.
8 assists.
8 assists, 1 turnover. So it's not like he let his bad shooting completely ruin his game. But of course, he's here to shoot. He's here to make open shots. He's here to create. So if he's not doing that, he's going to find himself on the bench. Great news. It's 1 game. The Lakers didn't lose. They now have a 7-game series to figure things out. I don't think he's going to continue this cold streak. I mean, he's going to figure things out. Even if he has 1 bad game, that's the beauty of a playoff series. You can have 1 bad game. You can even have 2 bad games. But it's definitely a bummer for him to start that way. But thankfully, Dennis Schroeder picked up his minutes. And I don't think this is going to carry over. It's 1 game. I don't want to think too much of it yet.
Yeah, it just wasn't a great night for D'Angelo Russell. I think he put some pressure on himself early on. You mentioned that first 3, and after he break that the way he did, I was like, this is going to be a long night for D'Lo. But I also think, too, he's playing up against this Timberwolves team. I think you talk about Finch. I mean, I think Finch, who, of course, started his career with the Sheffield Sharks of the British Basketball League. I mean, he had him schemed up very well, and that was apparent. But also, not only D'Angelo Russell, Vando didn't have a great game offensively. Either did Malik Beasley. So some of these former players of that team, they had his number. They know his tendencies. But you are kind of like the resident D'Angelo Russell. I don't want to call you a D'Lo stan, but I know you're a fan of his. What were your takeaways from his performance last night? What does he need to do to get back on track and bounce back against the Grizz?
Man, it was pretty disappointing seeing my boy on the bench down the stretch. He should have been there in the clutch, but I mean that's what bench warmers are for. That's what the backup point guard is for. Was very happy to see Dennis shine in the minutes that he got due to D'Lo's struggles, but I feel like D'Lo's going to bounce back. He was drinking that cup of coffee with himself in it before the game. I think he was a little too confident going up against his old squad. He forgets that Anthony Edwards and the rest of those guys, they know him very well. They've got to see him firsthand, and I'm excited to see what he does against the Grizzlies. He gets a rematch from last year when his team lost to them, so there's some redemption going on there, and he's going to keep doing what he does, even if his shot isn't falling. It's just important for him to find everybody else. He's the point guard at the end of the day. He's not the go-to scorer. He's not an all-star, so I think it's important for him to stick within his role and not just start chucking, not shooting a bunch of step backs, get to his little mid-ranges, find all his guys. I think he's going to be okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, if I'm Darvin Ham, first play of the game, I'm getting D'Lo in a pick and roll with AD, getting him to that elbow and letting D'Lo get that first shot. Because I just think he needs, the shooters need to see one go in. And if D'Lo can get to his spot, they're going to collapse on AD, and he can get that little elbow jumper to fall. That's just going to be so good for his confidence for first play of a playoff series, getting that one to go in, or at least making the right play. Just anything to get his confidence going just would be awesome.
And he's gonna be seeing like Jaren Jackson switch on to him next series. So I think it's just important for him to really take advantage of those matchups, either find AD or hit that shot.
Exactly. Make the right passes, and if the defense sags, he loves that mid-range shot.
Yeah, no, you bring that. I think that's a great point. Absolutely. You want to feature him early on, get his confidence back up. He knows the streets are talking about him right now. And you mentioned him, too, against the Grizzlies. That's a tough matchup for him because they're going to, I think they're going to attack him and they're going to try to target him relentlessly. And look, the bottom line, on both sides, really. I mean, the bottom line, though, with this Lakers offense is they need him to produce. They need him to provide floor spacing. They need him to be a guy that can facilitate the offense. Otherwise, you're going to see teams doubling Anthony Davis. You're going to see teams leaving Vando wide open.
Just like the Westbrook days.
Just like the Westbrook days. But the difference is, look, if you look at his body of work since he's put on the purple and gold once again, he has been great. And we're talking about a guy, 41% three-point shooter on 6.4 attempts. Now, in my opinion, I think he spends a little too much time out on the perimeter. I mean, for a guy his size that has the handle that he does, he needs to get in the paint and not settle as much. Yesterday, he got outplayed by a washed Mike Conley, right? His fellow Buckeye baller, Ohio State Buckeye point guard. He gets outplayed by him. And yeah, I think it just, the game came fast for him yesterday. 100%. And before he was struggling. And I think the big key for D'Angelo Russell is just finding a way to get his buckets and have his plays. And look, I think one of the silver linings though yesterday was, like I said, you mentioned 8 assists, right? Yeah. He still found ways to contribute even when his shot wasn't falling, and that is key for him. But yeah, I think the jury is out on D'Angelo Russell, because is he that athletic when it comes to top, when you see defense and officiating in the playoffs, it's a whole different animal. I mean, guys, they tighten those screws, and D'Angelo Russell, he has to be aggressive, get in the paint, use his agility, because he's not the fastest guy, but has a lot of agility and great handles. So
and Memphis is feisty, man. Like, you know, you're gonna have freaking all those guys have a chip on their shoulders. They play with probably some of the most energy in the league, and you know, it's gonna be tough for D'Lo if he lets them get to his head. So
and that Memphis crowd is gonna be loud. First 2 games in Memphis, those fans, the Grizzlies are barely favored over the Lakers. Barely favored. The fans aren't gonna like that. The players aren't gonna like that. And honestly, I mean, the last thing on D'Lo I was gonna say, it almost looked like that was pre-trade, like that almost felt like old D'Lo yesterday, kind of like immature, putting up shots, not letting the game come to him. Very different than what we've seen since he returned. So the Lakers need him to be like the guy they traded for, the mature player, letting, like, not slowing the game down, letting it come to him, not forcing it, and then it'll be fine. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a tough atmosphere against scrappy Grizzlies. I mean, Dylan Brooks and Desmond Bane are going to be in his grill all game long, so he's going to have to make something happen.
Yeah, absolutely. But he definitely has a lot to prove. But the good thing is you have Dennis Schroeder who can provide, and I think Austin Reeves is going to have a much better game moving forward. But
don't forget about Shaq Harris.
And Shaq Harris, the Diesel light. I don't know.
Tristan Thompson is going to win.
That's a good hot take.
Did you see those post game?
Yeah, man, he's putting those post moves. I
think he had like 73 points in the pregame warmups. Get him in there.
Get him in there.
He's a groupie, man.
All I'm saying, if he's not going to play Mo Bamba, maybe he'll play Tristan. Kind of groupie.
Double team. But one thing I want to ask you guys too, though, is look. I mean, I think when you reflect on this season and everything that Laker fans have been to, people that cover the team, and just the depths of hell that this team has been through in the Russell Westbrook era. You're talking about a team that had a 0.2% chance to make the playoffs, and now they're the 7th team. So when you just kind of reflect on that, you look on this year, you got to feel good about it. But I think last night, all the momentum that they had built, being the best defensive team after the All-Star break, the record that they put up, a lot of fans are saying, oh, they won an overtime game against a team that didn't have Rudy Gobert and a team that didn't have McDaniels, and you're not feeling good about it. I think for me, I look at this Lakers team as a team that was playing must-win games for multiple weeks on end, and they needed a 4-day break heading into this Grizzlies series. Huge. Better than any team out there. Do you still think this team has a lot of momentum, and do you still feel good about them as a legitimate contender in the West?
100%. I mean, like the whole thing of, they didn't have Gobert and McDaniels. This is the NBA. It's not like the backups are like a bunch of nobodies. I mean, like the Timberwolves roster, they were put there, 9-man rotation. Those are all really good basketball players. It's not like it really matters.
Exactly.
And yeah, I mean, the Lakers have the momentum. I mean, when they had 26 games to go, Dennis Schroeder said we have to win 19 of them. The Lakers win 18 of them. They get in the spot they want to be in, and then they win the game that they need to win. They've done literally everything that they needed to do when they were under 500, trying to scratch their way back. They accomplished exactly what they wanted to accomplish. They got the 7 seed. They have the Grizzlies in the first round, a winnable game. The second round is going to be the Kings or the Warriors, another winnable series. You're not seeing the Suns or the Clippers or the Nuggets until the last round. I mean, you could not ask for a better situation for the Lakers. They should be confident. They have the momentum. They're fully healthy, something we can never say about this team. So they have all the momentum, and they have 4 days to prepare for the Grizzlies, and they are going to use that time to get healthy, and I expect a pretty
Yes,
long,
sir, yes, sir.
long playoff run from this
And they
team.
can exhale, right? I mean,
Yeah,
when
they
you're
did
the
it.
home team in the playing game, you're really in a lose-lose situation because it
exactly.
doesn't matter if you win. They're like, oh, you're supposed to win. If you lose, it's just chaos, right?
Yep.
But one thing I want to ask you about is the superstars. Yes, they played well collectively. I mean, LeBron, Anthony Davis went through some stretches, but look, I mean, at the end of the day, they got the win.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, Anthony Davis, the foul at the end.
Yeah.
LeBron had that suspect inbounds pass.
Yeah.
What do you think about the superstars for the Lakers last night?
I mean, yeah, those late game slip-ups are pretty interesting. You know, I just think those guys, they got to set a better example to this young culture they have right now. They're obviously the two oldest guys on the team, the most polished, and you just need to show the guys like we don't have room for slip-up. It's not
Yeah.
the regular season.
Yeah.
You know, we did so good through these must-win games, but now we're in the turn. We're in the playoffs. You know, this is the postseason. This is where we're gonna try to make our run. So it's got to be better all around. And these 4 days of rest are gonna go a long way. I think kind of the toll started taking on them after all these weeks of ghoulish games and you know, not knowing where they're gonna end up. But now you know where you're gonna end up. You can game plan for sure of who you're gonna play against. You got Ja Morant and the Grizzlies. So yeah, it's just a matter of them really breaking everything down and showing the young guys like it's our time. Like it's time to grow up. That's all it is.
I mean, there was that shot. I don't remember if it was I think it was overtime, maybe in the fourth quarter. It was just LeBron and AD just hands on their knees, like almost gasping for air. Like this has been a grueling stretch.
AD came behind LeBron.
This has been a grueling stretch of basketball.
Yeah.
They were not supposed to be where they are, and they played 26 playoff games pretty much to try to get here, and they did. They had pretty much one more playoff game to get to the playoffs. They win it in overtime in tough fashion. I mean, this team needs a break, but also they need to carry that momentum. And yeah, I mean, they're going to have some slip ups. Better to do it in the play-in tournament than in a real playoff series when really every possession matters. But it was almost just like they needed to just take a sigh of relief. Like, okay, we did what we needed to do. Let's take 4 days and then let's go win this.
But we're on the way, Memphis.
Yeah, no, they were gassed. I mean, you see a Laker runs in the past, it usually is one shot you kind of point at. And Dennis Schroeder making that shot when he did, it really kind of feels like, oh, this team does have a little magic in them. Anthony Davis, I mean, end of the game, we saw against Dallas when he
hits twice now.
Against Max Kleba, and he's late to his rotation. This one he over-rotates, he kind of overcompensates. But like I said, I think this team is going to take a nice, deep breath, and they're going to be ready for that Grizzlies series. So 100%. We're going to do a full preview of the Grizzlies series, but we're going to talk about one topic, and that is Dillon Brooks. So Dillon Brooks, he told reporters, I wouldn't mind playing LeBron in a 7-game series. The legacy is there. First time back in the playoffs. Knock him out right away in the first round. It'll test us good. Now, Noah, I'm going to give you first crack at it. What are your thoughts on Dillon Brooks' comments?
Be careful what you wish for. I mean, like, I don't even know what else to say. I don't know why I don't know why you would ever talk about LeBron before a playoff series. He has playoff mode activated. You know he wants to win. You know he wants number 5. He's chasing Jordan. Why give him any more bulletin board material? Dillon, be careful what you wish for, man. You got what you wanted. You got LeBron in the 7-game series, and I wish you good luck, because if you lose, you are going to, it's going to be ugly. It's going to be ugly if you lose that 7-game series. That's all I'll say.
I mean, you can't bash the guy, man. I'm a basketball fan at the end of the day, besides a Laker fan, and I love the confidence. I love, it's better for basketball. It's better when guys are just going at it, giving it their all. I mean, what do you expect him to say? Like, oh, I don't want LeBron. I don't want the Lakers.
Or just say nothing. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, but like obviously they probably don't want the Lakers, but I don't know. He's that type of player for them, and I feel like every team needs the type of player that just is going to go out there and be that energy starter, be that fire guy.
All I'm saying, he can say what he wants. There's no way he was rooting for the Lakers to beat the Timberwolves. That man would have loved to see the Timberwolves again.
100%.
There's no way he was like, man, I hope the Lakers win and we get to play LeBron and AD fully healthy. I mean, like, come on.
I just don't know. I mean, we're talking about a guy who's a role player at best.
Yeah.
Shoots not even 40%, 14.3 points per game. Look, 20 years from now, his cameo won't even be worth 99 cents. And to me, it reminds me of when Machine Gun Kelly went at Eminem a few years ago. It's like, you don't go with the GOATs, okay? You got to stay in your lane. Why do you want to fire up LeBron James? Like you said, why give you any more bulletin board material? And look, yes, I know it kind of works for him. Yes, you need an irritant, but to me, he is in the Patrick Beverley school of irritants and guys who, like I said, we're not going to recognize on the street 6-7 years from now.
This guy talks to Draymond Green way too much, and every time he talks to the Warriors, they just put up a 4 rings. Dillon Brooks has 0. They've gone nowhere. Until they start winning, you can't talk. And yeah, if he wanted to pick on someone, he could have picked on, like, I don't know, Dennis Schroeder or something. Like someone like, don't go at LeBron. Go at, like,
and
Troy Brown Jr.
He has a bad history with LeBron. I know he's talked to LeBron before, and LeBron went crazy.
Go left on LeBron, where he like had the scouting report how to stop LeBron.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, God.
LeBron shouldn't even mention his name. It's like
he
free
won't.
advertising.
LeBron's just gonna play his game and
stare him down after he dunks.
LeBron, he's not going to say anything. He's not going to need to say anything. But when he makes a big shot or when he gets a big dunk or he gets a big block, he's going to look at him. He's just going to give him a little look. And that clip is going to go more viral than Dillon Brooks' stupid comment. So
he's just taking advantage of his media fame right now.
Yeah, may as well. I mean, you may as well.
Nobody takes it serious at the end of the day.
7-game series. He got what he wanted with LeBron. I think Laker fans are feeling very confident about who they're playing in the first round.
Yeah, no, enjoy it while it lasts, right, Dylan? But that's going to do it for this episode of the Lakers 24-8 podcast. We are officially in the playoffs, right?
Sir. We did it.
We're not in the play-in. We're in the playoffs. It's going to be a long from 2-10 to the 7th seed.
Anything can happen in the playoffs. Anything can happen.
And it's exciting times with Lakerland. But let us know down below in the comment section, what was your biggest takeaway from the Lakers play-in win over the T-Wolves? Let us know down below. As always, thank you for rocking with us. It's your show, Mr. Noah Cameras. But you can follow him at Noah Cameras. Go read his work on alllakers.com. Lakers expert for Sports Illustrated. And to my right, always bringing the noise, Mr. Noel Sanchez. Go follow him at Noise by Noel on Instagram and on TikTok. My name is D-Mac. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DMac_LA. And until next time,
go Lakers.
There's a parade at my city.